92788. A lot of great emails. And Nick, the best spokesman for the Ron Paul campaign, who is not a paid volunteer. Are you even working on his campaign, Nick?
Hey, yeah.
Are you? Are you out? Are you? What are you doing? You making phone calls?
No, I'm in my office right now. I'm in between patients, and I wanted to be able to get on the air with you because this is an important issue.
All right. No, I mean everybody talks about how good you are. About you speak better for Ron Paul than Ron Paul speaks.
That's cute. But what I really want to get down to, Tom, is this: Santorum may be really strong on abortion and gay rights and stuff like that, but abortion and gay rights is not bankrupting my country, is it? It's the Federal Reserve System, and it's easy credit by the Federal Reserve that gets us into this economic mess.
But I'll go back and answer your question. Morally bankrupting, yes. It's the moral versus economic. I think you're on to the right point here.
Well, we prioritize things, don't we? If I've got a patient that has heart disease along with an acute infection in the shoulder, well, the acute infection takes priority because it's going to kill him first before the heart disease. Okay. So what you do is you take Dr. Paul's stance and you say, fiscally, we have got to get a balanced budget, or we don't have a country left to save.
True.
You are broke, and you have no strength whatsoever. And your caller that called in earlier, he said, I'd support Ron Paul except for the foreign policy.
Right.
That's a Bill O'Reilly talking point that he's just regurgitating.
No, it's not. I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
If you sit down and look at it, you don't have money to pay the military when your dollar collapses. So Ron Paul is prioritizing and saying,
if you don't have security, you don't have a country either.
You can't fund the military when your dollar is devalued and weakened. Everything's inflated. You don't have the money to do it.
It goes back to your heart versus shoulder patient. You gotta at least keep the military alive and well to protect the nation. That is the number one. I think the number one goal of what our federal government is supposed to be doing is protecting us with the military.
Well, you and I could discuss that, but the Constitution already says out a strong defense, or the federal government is there for.
Right, and that's how I define it.
Not militarism in other countries, sending in economic hitmen to collapse their dollar. That is not what the Constitution says.
All right.
And that's all Ron Paul's saying is draw that back.
We'll disagree with that part. Budget. But it's not a Bill O'Reilly talking point. There's a lot of people who feel that way, Nick.
Every time I ask someone on the street who says Ron Paul's foreign policy is crazy, I say, give me an example. What do you know about it? They know nothing. They know that one media point that gets regurgitated. If they stopped and looked at the actual debt, if they pull up one simple website, usdebtclock.org, and you see those numbers just spiraling out of control, that's the missile that's headed to this country. That's the one you got to squash first, and that's what Ron Paul does. Santorum added to the debt when he said, let's give prescription drug plans unfunded.
I know.
How do you backtrack from that as a conservative?
That's why he's a big government Republican. That's what he is.
Well, I'm not voting for that. I'm voting for Ron Paul, and I'm going to keep educating people. You asked, what needs to be done for Ron Paul? All we need to do is educate people on the inflation tax. If they Google those two words, inflation tax, where does this come from? What's devaluing my dollar? Ron Paul is hands down your candidate, because then you've got money, then you've got strength, then you can do your, educating on the family and educating on family practices. Hey, don't get married before you can afford it.
Let me ask you another question, though. And this is one of the concerns that a lot of people have is they're going, do Republicans have to root for the economy to stay lousy so that they can keep holding that over Obama's head? And if the economy starts to improve, doesn't that help Obama and hurt the economic arguments of Ron Paul, Mitt Romney, no matter who it is on the right?
No, it doesn't, because even if the economy takes a little uptick, like it did over the holidays, and that's all we're seeing is holiday numbers coming in.
I agree.
And so it's propped up by the Federal Reserve with an artificially low rate.
Yep.
And that has to be fixed. You've got to liquidate this debt if you're going to have serious return of fiscal strength.
I was reading, we've got a couple new members of the Fed that have just been appointed as of January 1st, and I can't remember the guy's name. He's one of the new members, and he already was talking this morning about doing a QE3 round, another fake fiat money, artificial printing of money from the Fed again. That's the new Federal Reserve governor thinking we need to do more of that.
Yeah, after they already said they're going to keep interest rates low for another 3 years.
Yeah.
That is sick, and it's wrong because it devalues everything that we have worked for our whole lives in the bank.
Yes.
So you've got to stop that, and you prioritize. You get your military spending down a little bit so that you can balance your budget. He's not talking about uprooting everywhere and building a big wall around the country. That's not what any free market economist would ever allow.
Here's what I want. I want Ron Paul to be Secretary of the Treasury.
I want him to be my president because he understands the Constitution and states' rights. And Santorum, as much as I agree with family values, I agree that he has no clue about the Federal Reserve. He's never talked about it once. He's never said, this is a threat. We need to get Congress back in control of who controls the money supply. He's never said that once. So he's baseless. He's got no clue on fiscal conservatism. All he's got is moral conservatism.
And that's exactly what it is. That's the dividing line. Nick, always good to hear from you. I do appreciate you taking the time to call. We will be right back, folks. Got to take a break here. We'll be right back. My name is Tom Sullivan.